Well, good news for football fans here in the state of Colorado. A season that seemed in peril and on the brink just 6 weeks ago, now back on nearly across the board. Air Force Academy, Colorado State, and the University of Colorado all in for this fall. So it's going to... There's some variations here, but again, the Pac-12 really got the ball rolling yesterday for us here in Colorado, and this is crazy when you think about, not too long ago, certainly before the Big Ten decided to play football, we didn't know what the college football season was going to look like. Now it does look pretty crazy no matter what, but it was the Pac-10 first, and you get a look there, CU Boulder, that announced yesterday. And then just hours after that, the Mountain West did the same, but the Pac-12 started, and they're going to start on October 24th. I might have to pull up my own notes for this one. What I've got's a little confusing. So the Pac-12 said that fall sports are back on for them. It's going to be a 7-game season, and then just 3 hours later, the Mountain West lined up with a tweet to say it's targeting an October 24th start to an 8-game season. Now, a couple things to pay attention to when you're talking about the 8-game season for the Mountain West. All conferences are saying we're doing conference only, except, remember, the Air Force Academy has 2 other games scheduled with, of course, the service academies, the Commander-in-Chief's Cup, and that is, I think, scheduled for October 3rd in a couple weeks. Air Force's game against Navy, I believe. So again, Air Force going from a 2-game season to potentially a 10-game season. The Mountain West is back on, and they joined in after the Pac-12 decided that they were going to play football. Now, a couple of things for the Pac-12 made the difference here. For one, they've been working for a long time to secure daily testing for COVID-19, and they've partnered actually with a private diagnostics firm to do so. But there were 2 things the Pac-12 was sort of waiting on, at least what they said publicly, one being daily COVID-19 testing, and 2 was for the way to be cleared by local and state officials to go ahead and play football, which brings into question, or at least into focus, what's going to happen there at CU Boulder, Colorado, part of the Pac-12. But remember, we just told you this week, Boulder County put out an official public health order banning gatherings of all kinds for 18 to 22-year-olds. And so CU Athletic Director, let me see if I can pull up, I actually think it's in my notes, it's okay. Going to have more on this for you at 11 News at 4. CU AD Rick George said, we'll continue to work with our public health officials to comply with the public health order and be a part of the community solution. The one thing I've learned in this pandemic, don't get too high and don't get too low. Now, no fans will be permitted at Pac-12 sporting events taking place on campus. The conference said the Pac-12 did say money has never been the consideration. They said they acted deliberately and just, needed a lot of things to come together. The daily testing and the green light from local and state health officials. Of course, we know in California and Oregon, where there's 6 Pac-12 schools, that was a big part of it. And this follows the Big 12, who last week reversed their decision to postpone. Now, the Big 10. The Big Ten had led the way in calling off the season, and last week the Big Ten said things have changed since we last made those decisions. The Big Ten was really the first major conference to call things off. The Pac-12 following suit with the Big Ten this past week to reverse their decision. Now, meanwhile, the Big 12's already been playing football. The ACC has already been playing football. The SEC, where college football is king, and quite frankly, the king of college football, going to get started this weekend. Got a 10-game SEC slate, so that'll be interesting to pay attention to. Schedule's supposed to be announced at some point today. They may have already, and we'll have the latest for you on that. But again, with Air Force, an 8-game season for the Mountain West, what will happen and when will those 2 games be played? What will that mean for Air Force with the Commander-in-Chief's Cup? Again, games against Navy and Army scheduled as well. Well, got me excited about that one. And also, after an off-season of up and downs, back and forth about would there be high school football here in Colorado Springs and in Colorado, We do know now that's on. Over 200 schools began practice this week. They go to pads next week and start playing actual football games 2 weeks from today. So I know a lot of high school football people in Colorado are really excited. Let's hear actually from the Fountain Fort Carson Trojans who hit the field yesterday.
This opportunity to play, so I'm feeling really good right now. It's one of those opportunities to get better every day and just have one last ride with my boys.
So again, teams will be in full pad starting next Wednesday, and they got games 2 weeks from tonight. Well, the Denver Nuggets took a 3-1 deficit last night in a 114-108 loss to LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Jamal Murray was once again brilliant, absolutely sensational. He has really become a superstar this postseason and has emerged as one of the future stars of the NBA, and certainly the future for the Denver Nuggets very bright when you add Jamal Murray to Nikola Jokic. Now last night the Nuggets played pretty well. They were in the game the whole time. The Lakers had a double-digit lead though late in the fourth quarter. Murray really cut into it, got Denver to a couple of baskets, and then LeBron James said, I'm going to take him. He went to Coach Frank Vogel and said, I want to guard Jamal Murray. So, you know, Murray's reached that kind of status when LeBron James steps up and says, I'm the one who's got to guard this guy. James did play some good defense on Murray at the end, and that allowed the Lakers to hold off Denver. And so Denver's now in a 3-1 hole. But maybe it's right where they want to be. A reminder, the last two series, down 3-1 to Utah, down 3-1 to the Los Angeles Clippers, and Denver came back in both of those series. So they like, when people count them out, they like playing with that chip on their shoulder. They're going to have to get busy soon, or they're going to be like in an off season. And again, Denver looking for their first finals appearance in team history. The Lakers, they've been there a whole bunch of times. Of course, LeBron and the Lakers 1 win away, but either way you go, if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, you got to be really excited, for one, about the way that they've played, and two, the way that the future is shaping up when you got a 1-2 punch in Nikola Jokic and what Jamal Murray is doing. Absolutely sensational stuff for Denver. So we will leave you with that little sports blitz here on a Friday afternoon. 11 news at 4 coming up. All you got to do is click the live newscast. You're watching us on the app. You can get it there as well. And be with us for continuing coverage throughout the day, every day, on KKTV Channel 11. I'm going to sign off. I'm actually come back and jump on, I think, the 11 news at 4. I have to reset things a little bit.